This is a love letter to my black queens. Ain't nobody better. Zoom in on you, keep it all together. Literally flying any weather. This is a love letter to my black queens. Keep your head to the sky. Won't problem when you stand by my side. Together gravity we defy. This is a love letter to you. To let you know.
Oh yeah. What's up? Y'all already know what it is. Y'all know who it is. It's another day. As my father would say, any day 6 feet above ground and not below it is a good day. Truer words have not been spoken. I am yours truly, here with the lovely
Joyce,
yes.
The one and only Mom Dude.
The one and only
Mom's Dude.
The one and only Mom Dudes. And you know, we just, the usual commute. So as always, first and foremost, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
You feeling great?
Yes.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. I'm feeling good. I have so many things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And so many things that, you know, I'm working on at the moment. And outside of career and all of that stuff. And it's just, I guess today, and it's not really today as much as it is like the last couple of days have been I guess difficult, but you know, it comes with the territory. So overall, I'm always good.
Right.
I'm always good.
Right.
Just navigating, creating the life that I want,
Right.
while breaking all of the old habits and poor habits that we acquire, that we pick up, and all of those things. So
That won't take us where we're trying to go.
yeah,
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
So every now and then I have moments where I just genuinely feel like I feel the weight of all of my responsibilities. That's what it is. And that creates discomfort.
Yes.
So that's why it's not a I don't want to equate it to something, to a negative feeling.
Right. No, that's a natural. It's
Yeah.
good. It's good. It's good.
It's not a
I
negative
understand.
feeling. It's just being present sometimes, or always being hyper aware sometimes creates those feelings of discomfort, because it's like, I gotta do this on top of that, on top of this, I gotta figure this out, I gotta figure that out, so
I understand. So that's a good thing.
yeah,
It's a healthy thing. More healthy when we can talk about it, because it's a reality to all of us, but you don't realize how many people don't discuss it.
yeah.
They don't verbalize it at all, and it is vitally important to verbalize it, because that's the energy flowing through the body, that you releasing it out and making room for the good energy for you to accomplish those things. So it's good. It's good.
Yeah, so that's why I was just careful in how I worded it. Yeah, because it is, as always, like I said, to your point, the laws of thermodynamics say energy can neither be created nor destroyed but transferred.
Absolutely.
So that's exactly what it is. It's just the energy.
It is the energy.
But when we unpack those ideas, we realize all of that energy is created in our minds.
That's a good perspective.
Yeah.
Well, is it really created in our mind, or are you saying that that's where it culminates to? Because it's flowing.
Yeah, it's flowing. So created wasn't the right word under the pretense, because again, it can't be created or destroyed.
Right.
But the reason why, to elaborate, the reason why I use the word created is because this little thing between our ears, this mass between our ears, does a great job of creating realities that sometimes do not exist. And so
that's the truth.
That's why it's always important to be rooted in the now, to be rooted in the present.
Yes.
Because too much of our life get lived thinking about what can happen and what has happened,
Right.
and not what's happening.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
When you only think about what's happening, you realize that what can happen doesn't matter, and what has happened certainly don't matter because it's already gone. So a lot of the pressures and troubles, that's why I say created, because in our minds to us is very real. So we tell ourselves it's real, that we're feeling this way, that we have to do this,
Yes.
that we have to do that. And so our mind say, okay, you have to do this. you have to
Yes,
do that.
that's the truth. That's how it works.
Because whatever you tell your mind, it believes. So that's the reason why I use the term created. But in essence, we didn't create anything but the illusion. The energy flows.
Yes,
the energy exists.
Exactly.
It was here before us. It'll
That's
be here
right.
after us. But keeping, aware. Awareness is truly the word. Because that's
Yeah,
what
it
we're
is.
talking about.
It is.
What we really talking about is awareness. Because if we truly aware of where we are in an existential manner, like in terms of existence, like where we are, then we can be honest and say, okay, that thing I was worrying about, now we have to ask, why am I worrying about it?
Yeah.
Well, because I got to do this, and I got to think about this, and I got to think about that. But that isn't. Is that happening right now? Is that the thing that needs your energy and effort right now?
Exactly.
And most of the times when you ask yourself that question, to be honest, you're like, no.
Right, exactly.
So look at how much energy we've just exerted
Yes.
for reality that doesn't exist.
This exactly.
For potentiality. It's not even, because that reality could, the craziest thing about it is, it could never exist.
That's right. That's right.
Whatever you conjured up,
yes.
it could never come into fruition.
Yeah, exactly.
How you conjured it up, yet you wasted energy dreading or thinking or whatever it is about, whatever the circumstance hold.
And the reality is, to the energy that we possess and that is moving in and through us daily, we need that energy at a very high level to create the life that you initially started talking about you desire.
Yeah.
That was my experience yesterday. I had a very extremely low energetic day. And it was because I was high. I mean, I read my the last chapter of my book again. I pulled my book out and started reading. That book is so powerful. It really energized me, right? And so I actually read chapters 5 and 6, and then I read 8. The last chapter. So anyway, that last chapter, man, I was ready to go. I felt like I could just go. I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to make this thing happen, right? And then, of course, I had my dentist appointment yesterday. I'm all high, go to that dentist. I mean, high, on a very high level. And they said, only to tell me, now I had to go there, pay them out of pocket $150 just for them to tell me I have to pay $5,000 to have one tooth repaired. One. I said, one tooth? I said, how about we just take the tooth out? How much is that? $2,000 out of pocket. So that really took me down because of, like you, the things that I already have planned out. I got this is unexpected. So that really hit my energy level. And I mean, it plundered me right down. I forgot everything I read in my book. And I just went down the low. My entire ride back home was, because like I said, I already have things set up. There's some things I'm doing, particularly toward the end of this year, that I am accomplishing, and I'm like, this is too unexpected. It's necessary. So you go to what you said also, the reality that we set up is like, it may be necessary, but still, can it wait? Can it go on a
Right.
burner? Is it
Right.
does it have to take up all this energy that I gave it yesterday? I gave it that energy. So I certainly understand, because from there, as I said, that high went down, even to the point of my entire ride home. It was down, and when I got home, my thoughts became everything other than all that good stuff that I had been putting together.
Yeah.
And so it just go to show how quickly too that your energy level, and that's why we have to be, to your word, aware. Because if we're aware, I could have prevented all of that if I had this conversation we having right now. Before that experience yesterday,
right.
I would have been good to go. I would have been like, all right, yeah, I'm just gonna put that on the back burner, But I was all into it, to your conversation of today.
Yeah. And sometimes it just takes a reminder,
Yeah,
because we know,
yeah,
but we're human as well, and that's
true that.
that's the beauty of the human experience.
Yeah,
We are allowed to have human moments
yeah,
and say, you know what, I just feel like this at the moment.
right.
But you have to keep everything into perspective.
Yes.
And so I always say, I always talk about socially accepted forms of insanity. To suffer that which does not exist is a socially accepted form of insanity.
Yeah, that's good.
And a
That's
lot
true.
of us are suffering
Yeah.
that which does not exist, because we either talking about, again, what's to happen in the future,
Right.
what has happened to us in the past that
Yes.
shapes our worldview, and then we lead with that.
Yeah. I mean, it takes over. We definitely lead with it, and that's the whole purpose for being aware. Because when you're operating in the awareness of the noun, that's empowering. Because at that point, immediately you put things into perspective. But if you're not in the noun and that awareness, no, you all in those emotions.
And then I always ground myself by just simply reminding, even with the feelings that I express, the discomfort or the uncertainty or whatever it is, it's people that would literally give a limit to trade places with me.
Yes.
So I try to be intentional. Let me rephrase that, because I don't like try.
Right, me either.
I be intentional about counting my blessings.
Yes. And that was the very thing, to your word too, that pulled me up, though be it happened late last night. That was a lot of energy. I was into that thing. But that was those were the very thoughts that brought me back to myself. And that was that, how many people would, would welcome having this issue right now, as opposed to the things that they're confronted with.
Right.
So, yeah, that reality. That was a reality check that definitely helped to shift.
And I equate it to money. And it's things like, when I'm training, this is what I tell the people that I train. I use this analogy. If we, I believe it's like 86,500 seconds in a day. And let's convert that to currency. Because
that's good.
Time is a non-renewable resource.
That's
right. And we can have a conversation about time on so many levels, but for the sake of this analogy, we're going to equate that to currency. So if you had $86,500 every day, and somebody robbed you of 10,000 of those dollars or seconds, would you throw away the remaining 76,500?
Right, absolutely not.
But we do it all the time.
We do.
With our
I
day,
agree.
we have one thing.
Wow, that's
that
good.
changes the course of our day, or changes
I did
the perspective.
yesterday.
Yeah, right. And we throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I sure
You
did.
know what? Let's start over tomorrow. It's like,
I sure did. I threw everything where I went to negative. I
Right.
totally took myself in the red.
Yeah.
For no
yeah.
reason. For no reason. Because of triggers. Because just the reality of just getting that news. I mean, I could not. I said, one tooth. What kind of society are we living in?
And that's the larger question. That's the larger conversation, because going back to what I told you before in a previous conversation that we had, right? When we start thinking about our problems, right? Let's take all the problems off the table that have to do with money. It's like, we really don't have no problems. It's a money thing. It's a money thing.
It boils down to money.
Right. I mean, and that's when you talk about the socio-economics of this country that we live in, of America.
Yeah.
It's just certain things that you understand.
Yeah.
And it's like under no, and this is the thing, you have great coverage.
Exactly. That's what I was like, wait a minute here. Hold up.
Same with me. I have great coverage in a sense.
Yes.
You know, and that's relative. Because if it was truly great, we wouldn't be talking about $5,000 copays for simple procedures.
Come on.
What are we talking about here?
Exactly.
What are we talking about here?
Yes.
So it's completely ridiculous. But what do you do?
That's the thoughts. Those were the thoughts that took me way off course, because that's what I began to think. I began to get all into the natural of what kind of system is this? Because like I said, even when it boiled down to me saying, okay, because I didn't want to have the tooth removed without the complete repair, and so I'm like, okay, since it's that much, how about we just get rid of the tooth? $2,000. What I still with my insurance,
and I would ask them if I don't file an insurance claim and pay out of pocket.
Oh yeah, because you know what, it is cheaper medically when you pay out of pocket. That's a thought. I might revisit that.
Yeah,
I will revisit that, because But to the conversation, those little things brings the bigger thoughts of what kind of world are we living in, you know, where you can't get a single tooth. Your dental work is important. And is it really this expensive? Does it really have to be this expensive? I guess is
and 100% don't have
right, exactly.
It doesn't have to be at all.
Yeah.
But that's the way capitalism is set up.
Yeah.
So all of these woes that we can begin to talk about is just byproducts of capitalism. And as I share with people, I tell people this all the time. No matter how extreme you think it sounds, or I sound, slavery was far too profitable of a business model for them to ever abandon. So they just called it capitalism. When you look at the dynamics of capitalism, it is pyramidal. You have everybody on the lower tiers feeding the tier above it.
Yes.
And then you have the numbers minimized in quantity as you go higher up. So you have a very few people profiting off of the labor of a lot of people.
Correct.
And that profit is consolidated and maintained by very few people.
I agree.
That's why
the system.
You can't get the economic disparities that exist within this country by happenstance.
That's right.
The law of averages
For real.
don't allow for it.
I agree.
So anytime you see 70% of the country living on or below the poverty line, when you hear statistics about how most average Americans cannot afford a $500 emergency.
Right.
When you hear narratives and conversations like that, you quickly realize that this is by design. The system is operating as it's intended to.
I agree.
And capitalism is a system that is created. The blueprint for capitalism was slavery 100%. And instead of physical slavery and chattel slavery, you have economic slavery.
Absolutely.
And you have wage slavery.
Absolutely.
And with wage slavery, we pay you just enough to make sure you have to come back to work the next week.
Yeah. Yes.
Most of the average occupations can't even cover the cost of living.
Right.
So if I'm working to live, but the work that I do does not cover what it costs to live, I'm effectively a slave to that wage.
That's right.
But people, again, when you start understanding the sociology of it, they did such a great job of painting the narrative of what slavery is. You're like, well, you're not being brutalized anymore.
Right. That's correct. You're right.
We're not being brutalized physically.
That's right.
But emotionally and psychologically, the toll that it takes on you to deal with the economic woes that exist for most people is for sure brutality.
Yes, it is.
And the wounds is even more vicious because you can't see them.
That's right.
You can't see emotional wounds.
Exactly.
So you don't know when they heal.
Come on.
So the system, as I mentioned before, it is no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And in many ways, all of us are well adjusted. Yeah. So what does that mean? It means we're living in a constant state of perpetual unhealthiness.
Yes,
because it is not healthy. By that statement, it is not healthy to be well adjusted to the world that we live in. But yet all of us are well adjusted as a means of survival.
That is so true. Which is why I think whether we have statistics or not, we can safely conclude while so many young people are passing unexplained, just dropping. And not just young people, but people when they lived longer before because of this economic bondage. And again, people aren't having the conversation. They're not talking about it. They're suffering through it.
But that's the only way the system works. The only way, because remember I said perpetual. So the only way the system works, if we begin to start talking about certain ideas, the system doesn't work the same because it creates a level of awareness.
Exactly.
So ignorance is a huge part of what keeps the system of capitalism thriving.
Yes.
If most of us understood how capitalism worked, then we could effectively subvert the system.
Yeah, true.
And then it wouldn't work.
That is true.
So that is a huge part of why it exists in the capacity that capitalism exists in the capacity that it does. It's because most people aren't aware of how it operates and how it works. That's how you keep the power consolidated to a few. It was a study that was done. I forget at which college or university, but I think it was, if I recall correctly, it was a foreign college or university. And you had the gist of the study concluded that an informed minority will always rule over an uninformed majority.
Sure. Wow, that's true though.
And what they did to test this theory was play a game. The person created a game called Werewolf. So you take a group of people, you sit them in a room, or you set them in a place, and you have wolves and you have sheep. 2 people in that room is designated as the wolf.
Okay.
The rest is designated as the sheep. So the goal is to figure out who is the wolves and who are the sheep. Okay. Now the only people that know they're wolves is the 2 people. Right. Nobody else knows. They have to now use that information to throw people off. And so what they do is everybody close their eyes. The proctor decides, okay, tell the wolves, who do you want to kill? So with everybody's eyes closed now, the wolves decided, okay, we want to kill that person and that person. And then they say, all right, everybody open their eyes. All right, you got killed by the wolf, you got killed by the wolf. Now you're out. Now the people that's left have to figure out who was the wolves. Okay. and they ran this test 100 times, of course, because it was a study. I mean, not 100 times, multiple times. And almost every time, the wolves were able to kill everybody before
they were identified.
Right, because it's evidence that an informed minority will always win against an uninformed majority. So now, let's parallel that to what we were talking about with capitalism. That's why ignorance is such a powerful tool.
Yes.
Because as long as I keep you not knowing, then the majority at large is uninformed. And if you're uninformed, you will always be at the mercy of those who are informed. So that's why they keep that power consolidated, and they keep certain information consolidated to the minority, because capitalism can only work that way.
That's right.
If the playing field is leveled, capitalism cannot work.
Exactly.
And the only thing that makes capitalism continue to thrive in the manner in which it do is a collective belief that the system is a fair one.
True.
And the werewolves continue to convince the sheep that the system is fair. As long as we believe that, we continue to be pawns on the devil's chessboard.
Right.
And that's so, none of this, all of these things that are happening in terms of, what started the conversation and talking about something as simple as a procedure for your tooth should not have in any circumstances deprived you of the joy of your day.
Exactly.
You have a level of power over that, and your responsibility to that you are aware of and you understand.
Yes.
The larger problem is, however, that we live in a system that we have to be constantly in the mercy of until we put ourselves in a position. That's why I always say, instead of complaining of me, this is me, and this is nobody, no shade to anybody, you are right. Before I complain about what anything costs, I say, okay, I gotta make more money. Because the one thing about the system of capitalism, once you understand it, you just have to put yourself in a position to exploit it. That's it. And I know that that's an oversimplification, right? Because I talk about it so simply when I say that's it. But
not necessarily, but I do understand what you're saying. Because we have to view that. The two things, the exciting thing for me in this whole process and experiencing that yesterday is knowing that, to the conversation that you just explained about capitalism and the unaware being rude, is that there's a great awakening, glory. There is a great awakening. I mean, Colonel, there is a great awakening. People are waking up. And that, I'm telling you, that alone shatters the glass. So that's one aspect. Then the other aspect is, in this awakening and in this truth that we're discussing, we had the power before the system. We just were not aware of the extent of the power that we possess.
We still have the power. We forfeited that power unwittingly. Unwittingly. But that's, again, that's the power of the informed minority. Because they can extract,
and that's what happens. We're giving our power away, or it's even being, as you said, extracted from us. But again, we're now in a place where it is now being revealed, so given back to us, so that even to the form of creativity, because that's why I said earlier in the conversation that we can't, in this thing, when your energetic level goes down, you're unable to create at the level that you need to be able to create. And that's the bottom line. With that thing, with your frequency being low, you're not able to hit the mark. But with this awakening is the rise and elevation of the frequency, which takes us back and position us back to where we need to be for creating. So that was my restoration as well for yesterday, realizing that because it's like you said, $5,000, I could say, oh my God, $5,000, I want to keep all the things that I was saying, and the reality being, but I'm a creator, and I'm a creator of that. If that's what I'm going to need at the time that I'm going to need it, I can produce it before that time. So, we're in a very powerful time where our power is coming back to us because we did relinquish
Correct.
it. That's the only reason this system was able to stand.
Right.
I'm telling you, in this state of awareness that's taking place, this entire system will crumble.
You got to remember, none are more helplessly enslaved than those who falsely believe that they're free. So when you talk about unwittingly relinquishing that power, that's why.
Right.
Because what the system of capitalism in America does a great job with is creating the illusion of freedom.
Yeah.
Creating the illusion of autonomy.
Yes.
Creating the illusion of control. Meanwhile, they move you around emotionally.
Yes.
Like the puppet strings, like the puppet master.
Absolutely.
And so that's why everything that you were saying was definitely right on point. They extracted that power, but we gave it to them. The power is always with the people.
Always.
The power is 100% always with the people. But that's why we need the informed majority.
Yes.
Because what good is a power that you're unaware of?
But that's what's exciting about this time, because people are being awakened just because of the spiritual power and the signs, the evidence is all that's taking place on the continent of Africa, which is the very beginning of civilization. Man, they have taken back their power. Just 3 countries joining together.
And I'll say this, it's going to be a concerted, I'll say this in closing because I don't know how much time we have left, but it has to be a concerted effort. Wally said one of the most profound, simple yet profound things. When he was living his life, how he was living his life, he said, listen, it's a dead end, because you have to understand the police have an unlimited amount of resources working to make sure they can incarcerate you.
Absolutely.
You have to be willing to appropriate the same amount of resources to ensure your freedom.
Exactly.
And they working around the clock. So if you're not working 24 hours to remain free,
there you go.
Like literally, that's what now.
But that's
obviously
what
he was
this
talking about
trio,
the lifestyle he was in at the time.
But that's perfect, Colonel. Because that's what the trio is doing in Africa right now. Those 3 countries are working around the clock, while the other 51 or 52, because they say it's 55, are still trying to figure it out. But even in the midst of that, just from that core, that 3-strand core that gathered together, it's affecting, Colonel, it's impacting the others.
Because energy can either be created.
There you go. There you go. And so it's happening, y'all. My whole point, and in this whole thing, in this conversation is, it's happening for us. Now we each have to take our responsibility for allowing ourselves to be enlightened. To embrace this newness that's coming upon all, because we're all being shaken. We're all feeling it. We just don't understand it. But if we embrace it, it's the work is going to be so, it's going to be such a blessing, because it'll then be collective energy and not an individual.
Correct.
And it's happening. Y'all, listen, let me tell you all around the world, honestly, it is happening. And it's a beautiful thing. I don't know how many people are able to see it, but I know everyone is feeling it, because people are talking about this, like what's going on. You can feel it, but it's happening, and it's happening for our good. We have to be able to just lock into it, embrace it, so that we can see that change not only in our lives, but again, on a collective level, because we are connected. This thing is universal. It's powerful, and I'm excited. So I don't care what, as long as I have breath in my, I am excited about what's taking place. Even though it means the destruction of the old system. We don't have anything to fear. That system must come down. In fact, we should want it to come down. We need to stop praying for it to be blessed. We need to stop praying for it to stay. We need to allow it to crumble. That's because the best system is rising. So anyway, on that note,
For sure.
because I act like I'm the boss.
I can't say I listen to you
I
every
act
time,
like
but
I'm the boss in this place.
that's why
Peace.
that balance, you know. The divine feminine, it's that masculine balance, you know. presence is so necessary.
This is a love letter to my black queens. Ain't nobody better. Throw it on you, keep it all together. Literally flying any weather. This is a love letter to my black queens. Keep your head to the sky. More power when you stand by my side. Together gravity we defy. This is a love letter to you. To let you know.
Oh yeah.